This is the house. Quiet street, porch light on. A life put back together one ordinary day at a time. From the sidewalk, you would never know what it cost Elijah Booker to stand here. You wouldn't know what disappeared before these walls became home. You wouldn't know how close he came to losing everything. But this is the end of the story. To understand the house, you have to go back 3 years, to the week everything he knew began to change. Back then, Elijah was 30-something, married, working, and dependable almost to a fault. He was good with his hands. The kind of man who could look at something broken and imagine what it could become. He worked. He paid what needed paying. He came home. And when there was something left over, he put a little more into the life he and Lauren were building. Nothing about it was glamorous. That was the point. It was theirs. A marriage, a home, plans that still had time attached to them. Elijah thought being dependable meant life would eventually become dependable too. He was about to learn otherwise. At first, it was easy to explain away. Fatigue, a pain that stayed longer than it should, a body that suddenly needed more recovery than the work seemed to justify. Elijah did what men like him often do. He kept going. There was work tomorrow. There were bills next week. There was always a reason to wait one more day. Eventually, waiting stopped being an option. The clinic was ordinary. Fluorescent lights, quiet chairs, a receptionist behind a desk, people looking at their phones because looking at each other felt too personal. Elijah walked in expecting answers. He wasn't prepared for the one he got. You don't remember every word after a certain one. You remember the doctor's mouth moving. You remember trying to listen. You remember hearing words like treatment, options, appointments, and trying to make them mean something. But one word keeps drowning out the rest. Cancer. Stage 3. Serious, but not hopeless. Elijah nodded like a man receiving instructions at work. Because instructions he understood. Do this. Go here. Be there at this time. Fight this thing. What he didn't understand was how a man could walk into a room as one person and walk out carrying an entirely different future. Outside, everything looked exactly the same. Cars moved through the parking lot. People went to work. Somebody somewhere was deciding what to eat for dinner. And Elijah stood there holding a bag and a diagnosis, wondering how he was supposed to go home and put either one down. Treatment introduced itself slowly. An appointment, a chair, a needle, a bag hanging from a pole. Hours Elijah would never get back. Then another appointment, and another. In the beginning, he still looked like himself. That almost made it easier to pretend nothing fundamental had changed. He could still get dressed, still go to work, still answer, "I'm good," when somebody asked. But the body keeps its own records. The fatigue came first, not tired. Tired was something sleep could fix. This was different. It settled behind his eyes, in his shoulders, in the few seconds he needed before standing up. Then came the hair, a little at first, then enough that pretending became pointless. Elijah stood in front of the mirror, looking at a face he recognized, and a body beginning to tell a story he had not agreed to. The beanie came after that. At first, it covered what treatment had taken. Eventually, it simply became part of him. He learned the hallways, learned which chairs were comfortable, learned how long an afternoon could become when medicine entered your body, one drop at a time. And somehow, he kept going to work, because cancer doesn't stop the electric bill. It doesn't suspend the mortgage. It doesn't tell the grocery store to wait. Elijah still needed a paycheck, so he showed up. until showing up became harder than he wanted anyone to know. His co-workers noticed before Elijah admitted anything. The pauses were longer. The movements were slower. Some days, sitting down for 5 minutes felt like surrender. One afternoon, his supervisor finally told him what Elijah refused to tell himself. Go home. Rest. We'll handle it. Elijah hated hearing that. Not because the man was wrong, because he was right. Going home early meant fewer hours. Fewer hours meant less money. And less money had a way of turning an illness into a household problem. Medical statements joined utility bills. Utility bills joined everything else. Elijah moved numbers from one column to another as if enough concentration could make the total smaller. It never did. Lauren saw it too. At first she tried to help. They sat together, counted, recounted, looked for places to cut, looked for something they had missed. She wasn't angry. She was scared. There is a difference. And for a while Elijah understood it. But fear changes when it lives in a house long enough. It gets quieter. Conversations become shorter. Questions stop getting asked. Two people can occupy the same room and slowly stop living in the same world. Lauren began disappearing without leaving. A phone in her hand. Her attention somewhere else. A few more feet between them on the couch. Elijah noticed. Of course he noticed. He just didn't know what to do with it. He was already fighting to keep his body, fighting to keep working, fighting to keep the numbers from swallowing them. He didn't have much fight left for asking his wife why she had stopped reaching for him. Eventually, they looked directly at each other. No television to hide behind, no bills, no phone. Just two people who remembered being close, trying to understand when the distance became normal. Neither of them had a good answer. Then the distance became physical. The bed had an empty side. Lauren started sleeping on the couch. Elijah would wake in the middle of the night and see the space beside him, then look through the doorway and find his wife asleep in another room. Cancer had entered their marriage without asking permission, but by then, it wasn't the only thing between them. There was fear, money, exhaustion, things said too late, things never said at all, and the quiet realization that loving somebody doesn't always mean knowing how to survive beside them. By the time Lauren packed the bag, neither of them needed an explanation. One bag, her keys, enough clothes to make the decision real. Elijah looked at her. Lauren looked back. There was no screaming, no accusation big enough to make the last few months disappear, no speech that could return them to who they had been. Elijah could have asked her to stay. Maybe part of him wanted to. But love begged for isn't the same thing as love choosing to remain. Lauren stepped through the doorway. Then she stopped. Just long enough to look back at the man she had once imagined growing old beside. Elijah didn't chase her. He didn't curse her. He didn't tell her she would regret it. He simply stood there and let her leave. The door closed. And for the first time since the diagnosis, there was nobody else in the house for Elijah to be strong for. No doctor, no supervisor, no Lauren, just Elijah, and everything that remained. He sat at the dining table for a long time. Then he looked at his left hand. The ring had been there before the diagnosis, through the appointments, through treatment, through the bills, through every night they had slept inches apart, and every night they hadn't. Elijah reached across with his right hand, and slowly he took it off. He didn't throw it. He didn't need to. He just let it go.
Welcome to Iron and Grace. I started this channel because I believe some of the most important lessons in life are found in the stories we live through. So thank you, genuinely, for being here. If this meant something to you, drop a comment and let me know. I read every single one. Your support is the reason this channel exists. See you in the next one.